type A flu, type B flu, H1N1, swine flu. We've all heard these names thrown around quite a bit this year, and I have to admit, even as a nurse, they can be very confusing. I knew the basics of flu classification, but I wanted to learn a little bit more about how scientists come up with the name H1H1, or why they call a particular flu the swine flu. This led me to do a little bit of research into the subject, and I found that it's not as complicated as it seems. Today I will share with you the HN classification system, how a flu is classified into either type A, B, or C, and also how a flu gets tagged with a geographical location name or an animal name. Let's start by looking at the HN classification system. A virus's surface is made up of two main proteins. The H protein is hemagglutinin. The N protein is neuraminidase. The H protein is the one that determines how a flu virus will infect a person. The N is the one that determines how it spreads throughout that person's body and then to another person. The best way to picture this is to imagine a crime scene. The H would be considered the break-in guy. This is the portion of the protein that breaks into a house, or in this case, your cell, and infects the cell with the virus. The N protein would be the safecracker or the decoder, and also is the one that helps plan the getaway, or in the case of your cells, the one that helps spread the virus throughout your cells and the rest of your body. There are many different configurations of the HN combination. There are 16 H's and there are 9 N's. So that gives us H1N1, which is considered the swine flu, H5N1, which is considered the bird flu, and H2N3, which is considered the Hong Kong flu. There are many others that I haven't listed here, but each one has a different number that correlates with the H or the N. If any of these numbers change, even just one, it creates a brand new virus. When a virus mutates, this is what happens. In order for you to be immune to a virus, say for instance the virus that's going around your town this year, you would have to have been exposed at some point in your past to the exact HN combination. If you have not, then you will get sick. Scientists use this classification system to be able to look at a virus and tell the characteristics of it very quickly, and also it helps in creating a vaccine very quickly for a new strain of a flu virus. In addition to the HN classification system, there's also the type A, B, and C classification. If a flu is a type A, what you need to remember is that it infects people and animals. Usually an animal is the originating host, and it transfers from animal to animal. At some point it mutates and transfers from animal to person. When this happens, it can be a pretty severe reaction for the person infected. Type A is constantly changing, and it is responsible for most of the pandemics that we've heard about over the last 150 years. Type B flu, unlike type A flu, can only be transmitted from human to human. It's usually not as severe as type A flus. However, there have been several cases of severe type B flus recently in the past. Scientists normally do not bother to subtype the type B flus with an HN classification. They use a blanket terminology and just call it a type B influenza. Type C is the mildest of the three, and it's much milder than A or B, usually very self-limiting if there are any symptoms, and it does not cause epidemics. Again, this is spread from human to human only, and scientists don't bother to specify what kind of flu it is because it's so minimal. They just give it a generic type C label. In addition to the H1N1, H5N1 classification type systems and the ABC systems, there are the nicknames that flus are given. The nicknames usually originate from the where a flu has originated from, or the animal that has been the original host for the virus. The swine flu, for instance, is originally just a swine-to-swine flu virus, so therefore it's given the name swine flu. The bird flu is the same. It normally is just a flu that is transmitted from bird to bird. Occasionally these two mutate to where they can infect humans. At that point, it technically is not considered a bird flu or a swine flu, it's considered a human flu. A geographical location for a name of a flu is usually done because that's the place where a flu virus has been noted as maybe the first major epidemic that's occurred. The Hong Kong flu occurred in the late 60s and was very severe. The first outbreak was noted in Hong Kong. I find it interesting that most of the type A flus or the series flus originate in Asia or Southeast Asia. Studies have shown that because of the densely populated cities and also because of the humid climate, flus tend to flourish year-round there. They start there, and then 6 to 9 months later will reach Europe, and then finally North America. So, what's in a name for a flu virus? There's quite a bit. We have the HN classification system, which tells us how it's going to infect us and how it's going to spread to others. If it's type A, B, or C, will tell us how severe a flu is and maybe a little bit about how it originated. And finally, the nicknames give us information on what animal was the original host and also maybe what geographical location the first big epidemic originated in. Hopefully, with better understanding of what influenza names mean, we can eliminate any misconceptions about how the flu virus is transmitted and do a better job in the prevention of flu transmission in the future.